Hey, it's Marcel. Before we kick off this episode, just a reminder for you to join me on Substack. This is my private community where I engage with you and give you all kinds of content, articles, free resources, and tools to enhance your leadership. It's also a great way for you to comment, ask me questions, and have direct access to me. So I'm going to leave you the link in my show notes, but if you want to go there now, it's marcelschwantes.substack.com. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Love in Action Podcast. I'm your host, executive coach, speaker, and author, Marcel Schwantes. I believe that when we show up with our full humanity to work and lead from a place of love, joy, purpose, care, and inclusion, it's going to make a radical difference in your leadership, your business, and your bottom line. This is a show about actionable, practical love, the verb, as a leadership and business strategy. Let's get rolling. Hey gang, welcome back. If you're a longtime listener, and a big warm welcome if you are joining us for the first time. Glad you are here. So I love our topic today. It's very much in line with the Love in Action message. So let me throw out a term at you right now. Okay, so if I say spiritual intelligence, what do you think that means? I mean, what comes up for you? So let me take it up another notch. How about spiritual intelligent leadership? Okay, so maybe you're hearing that for the first time. I can tell you what it's not. Spiritual intelligence, in the sense that we're going to be talking about today, is not about religious beliefs. It's not some sort of ecstatic spiritual experience that it's fleeting, right? It goes away after a little bit. Like, here's my example. I'm a big U2 fan, right? So when I listen to some of their songs with the volume full blast, when nobody's home, of course, I don't want to scare the neighbors, singing at the top of my lungs, but there's a spiritual experience there for me, listening to some of U2's music, okay? But it doesn't last, right? The music is gone and the moment goes away. So spiritual intelligence is something that comes from our inner beings. It's something so deep inside us that it's that point where we feel connected not only to ourselves, but also to others on a much deeper level. Okay, so don't worry. I mean, this is still a business leadership podcast, but once you get the idea of what spiritual intelligence is, as you listen further, based on scientific evidence, and how to draw that out of you, you're going to begin to experience more purpose and joy in your life. So to explain all that, because I'm not the expert, we're actually going to talk to a true expert. Dr. Yosi Amram is going to be joining us shortly. Yosi is a true pioneer in this field because he's done the research on spiritual intelligence, or SI. He's also a CEO leadership coach, a licensed clinical psychologist. He's coached over 100 CEOs, including leaders of multi-billion-dollar companies. And his groundbreaking research on spiritual intelligence has been cited over 1,000 times. By the way, he's also the best-selling author who wrote the book. That's the whole reason why he's here. And that book is entitled, what else? Spiritually Intelligent Leadership: How to Inspire by Being Inspired. And we're going to break that down and give you some really awesome tips and strategies to kind of elevate your spiritual intelligence. And Dr. Yosi Amram now joins us. Welcome to the Love in Action Podcast.
Thank you, Marcel. Wow, what an introduction. I love it. I mean, I think you are on a roll. You're like such a beautiful summary of what we're going to talk about. So I am just honored and delighted to be here.
Well, the feeling is mutual. And, I can't wait to dive into this, to make sense of what it is. And maybe even what it's not. I kind of alluded to it a little bit about what it's not. But all right, so we start the show like this. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm here.
What's your story?
My story. Okay. Oh my God. Just summarizing a year and a half of life in 15 seconds. No, it's a little longer than that. But I was born and raised in Israel, which is a war-torn part of the world. Fortunately, as all Israelis, I was drafted. Fortunately, it was a peaceful time. But, I was a shy, introverted kid, and I never thought of myself as a leader, and certainly not one in a military command and control environment. Lo and behold, I had the fastest promotion record in the history of my regiment, so I excelled at that environment. But I was totally surprised by that. And despite my excelling at it, the command and control model of the military, while effective in battle, felt dehumanizing and chafed at my soul. So I resolved to someday, it became one of my life dreams, was to build an organization that would be based on different, more humanistic principles that inspire and brings out the best in people and each individuals. And I was a tech nerd, kind of math and science things. So I thought my path is going to be, through innovation. And I came to Silicon Valley and so on. And I started a company. It was called Individual, which meant both for the concept was delivering personal news, interactive newspapers. So you'd get Marcel's morning newspaper on your fax machine. This is well before the internet. You'd give us feedback on what was relevant or not. We had self-learning, machine learning agents, and we would adjust that. And so the company was growing. I was working passionately. It was my lifelong dream. And then the internet came, and it was clear that the thing we were selling, the subscriptions and so on, was all going to be ad supported, free on the internet. So it was kind of a crisis, and I was scared about the future of the business. We raised tens of millions of dollars from the top venture capital firms, and there was a lot of pressure. And I just started freezing and getting burnt out and depressed. And I went into a clinical depression. I couldn't show up in front of my employees, hundreds of employees, and tell them how we're going to take on the world because I had lost my vision, my confidence. But I persisted, and somehow we turned the business around. It became an internet company. It became a hot internet company. We were going public. We had a rising stock price. It was crazy times. There were all these wide open opportunities with the internet. And I was running around, still working like mad. And one day I was trying to relax and get a massage, which was one of my favorite ways. I was laying on a massage table, and as I was relaxing, my ego sort of dissolved, and all of a sudden I felt like everything is made of consciousness, everything is oneness, is interconnected. I was looking through the face cradle, the floor looked like it was inside me, and it just blew the circuits of my mind. It was kind of a kundalini, if to use spiritual terminology, it would be kundalini awakening, an awakening experience, which is known can throw you into manic episode and can, upset, I wasn't integrated. I wasn't grounded. So I was trying to get everything done yesterday. I had these big visions of where the internet was going. I wanted individual, my company to be the leader, and I wanted everything done yesterday. Well, my team couldn't keep up. My board freaked out. They put me on a leave of absence. They pushed me out of the company. So that was a major trauma crisis because this was my baby. But that kind of changed the direction of my life. I started asking, why did I get so passionate, committed, and overworked around it? My identity, was this awakening experience real or delusional? And that led me to study psychology and become a therapist and so on, both to understand myself. By then, I was also coaching other CEOs, and I wanted to work with them deeper. And I heard the term spiritual intelligence, and I knew about emotional intelligence, which we may want to explain the difference between the two. And I knew all the research that was done about emotional intelligence that showed it contributed to leadership and all kind of other things. But there wasn't a similar definition, an operational definition, and a measurement of spiritual intelligence. So that's the path I set on. That was my doctoral research. And I studied 42 CEOs, and I developed this measure of spiritual intelligence that was academically validated. And I showed that CEOs that scored higher on spiritual intelligence led teams with greater commitment, higher morale, lower turnover, even when you control for emotional intelligence. So the two were complementary and together they were synergistic.
Mm.
And since then, there's been other research by other researchers that use this measure of spiritual intelligence that showed that leaders that score higher on spiritual intelligence lead organizations with better financial performance.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. Let me stop right there for a second. So, yeah, that is that because I know the research on EQ and how that also leads to better financial performance and good outcomes for relationships, relationship management, motivation, empathy, things like that. But spiritual intelligence is, I think perhaps we need to understand in your own words, how would you describe it? Is there like a succinct description for spiritual intelligence?
Yeah, well, let's just start with emotional intelligence. Fundamentally, emotional intelligence is the ability to be aware of and draw on emotional information and resources to help manage your own and others' emotions. Okay. That's kind of a basic, simplified definition. So, what is spiritual intelligence? Is the ability to draw on and embody spiritual resources and qualities to help daily functioning and well being. So, what are those?
Yeah.
These are the qualities that have been hailed by all the world's spiritual traditions across Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, shamanism, Hinduism, etc., Taoism. And these are qualities like purpose, service, compassion, gratitude, humility, presence, beauty, joy, higher self, intuition, and so on. And these are the qualities that in my research, I discovered that regardless of what tradition you come on in from, what your theology or cosmology, if you believe in a deity like God, you believe in Buddha nature, you believe Father Sky, Mother Earth, Jesus is the Messiah, Muhammad was the final prophet, whatever your belief is, it comes down to, do you embody compassion? Do you embody gratitude? Do you have a sense of purpose? Do you live in service? And
Yeah.
so these are the qualities of spiritual intelligence. And as you said in the introduction, it's not a belief system, it's not a religion. So you can be an atheist and still embody egolessness. You could still have purpose. You could be a non-spiritual person, so to speak, and have no spiritual belief system. You don't believe in anything spiritual, but you embody presence, you embody gratitude, you embody compassion. And these are the qualities that the field of positive psychology, Marty Seligman did all this research, and they have this thing called values in action, similar to love in action. We'll come back to that idea, and character strengths. And they have identified 24 qualities, and over half of them map to these qualities of spiritual intelligence that I mentioned. So, there's a big convergence between ancient wisdom across spiritual traditions for thousands of years that they've been saying, cultivate compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, etc. And positive psychology says same thing. And then there's this third thing that's coming in these days is leadership development. So a study by Bain & Company, one of the top management consulting companies in the world, did research to look at employee productivity. And they found that employees that are inspired are twice as productive as people are just going about doing their jobs. And then they looked at what gets employees inspired. So they identified 33 qualities. And again, over half of the spiritual intelligence qualities map into the thing that Bain & Company identified. So it had to do with presence and centeredness and servanthood and so on. So
Yeah.
now, when you think about it, my first Harvard Business School case was managers and leaders. Are they the same or different? And managers manage resources, make decisions, super important. But leaders inspire, okay? We think that, listen to the word inspire. What is the root of it? Is spirit. What is spirit? The animating breath of life. So what leaders do is we light up the fire of the organization. We breathe life. How do we do that? We set a vision. We define the values. We define our mission. And then people that are aligned with it, that enlivens the organization and creates cohesion, a sense of community. So it actually, when you look at the etymology of the words and what leaders do is inspiring, it just makes sense. It has to do with spirit, the breath of life, the life force energy that we bring into the organization.
Yeah. So as you kept validating through your research and testing it out with different populations, you interviewed 40 CEOs, and then the employees were assessed and all that. What did you discover being finally your primary characteristics of SI?
Well, as I outline in the book, there are seven main dimensions of spiritually intelligent leadership. So it has to do with meaning, mobilizing meaning. So that has to do with purpose, service, and reframing difficulties into opportunities. So, in every organization, you have setbacks, you have crisis. And instead of despairing, you have to find the meaning in that and how that asks us, calls us to become resilient, become stronger, etc. So it has to do with meaning, purpose, service, why are we here, how are we serving the world. The second domain has to do with interacting with grace, and that basically means bringing the energy of positivity. So it starts with trust. You have to trust the future, that things are going to work out, which then fuels your hope and your optimism, etc. Then you bring in gratitude and joy and beauty to your interactions. When people feel joy and fun and appreciation, they're more creative, they're more motivated, and so on. And so all of that then feeds into building a sense of community. When you have shared vision, shared purpose, and then you have joy and fun and appreciation and gratitude among everybody, then there's mutuality of caring, and that builds a sense of community. At the same time, as a leader, you need to be inner directed. You have to listen to your inner North Star, your inner compass. So it's a kind of a yin yang thing. You have to be inner directed, trust your judgment, trust your intuition, trust your moral compass, and at the same time be open to others. And so that's the community. And so I'm open to you, but I'm also connected to myself. So I'm interconnected and interconnected, and that creates the inner directedness and the sense of community. And then to do that, I also need to be present. One of the main things is to be present. And we're so distracted in our world. We're looking at our phone, we have text messages, we have all kinds of distractions, emails, notifications, etc. But the biggest gift we can give people is to be present. I'm here with you now, and you're listening to me. You're engaged. I'm tracking you. You're smiling. Hopefully, you're tracking me. I get a sense that you want to say something, and maybe I should stop. But that but but if I'm not present with you, I'm not paying attention. So
Right.
being present with who I am is actually love in action. I'm giving you my full undivided attention. In this moment, I'm devoted to our conversation. That's love in action. We'll bring it
Yeah.
back to that. But it's presence. It's the quality of presence that you have as a leader, and you respect your employees. They engage with you, and then they increases their commitment. The other thing has to do with truth. It's not my ego that is here at stake. I'm not trying to prove myself right, self-aggrandizement. I'm open, I'm interested in the truth. So I'm looking to do what is right rather than being right or proving myself right. And the last thing is the dimension of wisdom, which has to do with tacking into the higher self that we all have. We can ask ourselves, okay, my future self, 10, 15 years from now, what wisdom, what advice would I give myself now? So we do all the analysis, the spreadsheets, the Gantt charts, the decision trees, etc., the financial models. But sometimes we make decisions, and as leaders, we have to tap into something deeper, our gut feelings. Leaders like Steve Jobs, all the creativity was all about doing all the analysis, your homework, but at some point, quieting your mind and finding that voice inside that is deeper. And that has to do with this wisdom that we all embody that's in us. We may be out of touch with it because our mind is racing around, having 80,000 thoughts a minute, and 90% of them are repetitive.
Well, that's what I wanted to get at because I can already tell that some of my listeners are going, yeah, that sounds great. But in real life where I work, where I'm putting out fires all day and I'm getting notifications every 5 minutes, this is sort of idealistic, but it's not pragmatic. I don't know how to make it happen. So, I mean, you coach CEOs now that have actually gotten over that hump. So what would you say is a good approach to experiencing some of these things like meaning and understanding how, what obstacles are in the way from you building more community or being more present?
Yeah, well, yeah, we often deal with fires, we all have crises, etc. So, and that's fine, and we have to be in that mode. But sometime the underlying point is it's sometime, but we don't want to get addicted to that and then run on adrenaline and stress hormones all the time, because that burns our nervous system, and we get exhausted, and we're in that mode all the time. So you have to, and our brains have this thing that neuroscientists call negativity bias,
Hmm.
which help us survive in the jungle. We're focused on danger and problems, right? And that helps you avoid the danger and you survive. But, that was an environment where you'd have short bursts of stress, anxiety, you're running away from a lion or a snake or whatever, but then you have to discharge. And if you look at animals in the wild, they go through these traumatic moments and then they shake and whatever, and they discharge those hormones from their bloodstream. But what happens in our modern world is, we don't have real life threatening thing, but our nervous system is programmed around these dangers. A customer cancels a contract and, oh, I'm going to miss my monthly quota. I'm going to miss my quarterly guidance, whatever. All of a sudden it's like, I'm totally stressed and I shake that off, and then my mind contracts. I'm less creative. I am less resourceful in figuring out what to do and how to make my plan, even though there's that cancellation or whatever. So we go into a panic mode. So how do you overcome that? And this is what you have to do: is you have to cultivate the positive feelings. So, a negative news takes you in a negative mind state, but you need 20, 30 seconds of positivity to calm your nervous system. So you have to cultivate consciously to take in the good, as neuroscientist Rick Hansen talks about. So you have to cultivate a gratitude practice, an appreciation practice. So, you're going through your day and a customer cancels a contract, we find a new bug in the software, whatever it is. But, are you going through your meetings and paying attention to what people are doing well? And so did a beautiful analysis. So and so did a beautiful presentation. There was a great meeting here, and we feel connected as a team. And so, do I recognize that? Do I pause to appreciate it? Appreciate that with people, which builds their morale, builds their resources. And then whereas that positivity as the foundation, people are more creative, more resourceful to deal with the crisis. So the crises are going to happen. I'm not talking about an idyllic life that everything is walking through a rose garden. No, it's rough out there sometimes, but you have to cultivate these qualities. And it's like you're going to the gym. You don't just read my book and you say, oh, I'm spiritually intelligent now. You don't just read a yoga manual and your body is agile and strong. You go to the gym and you have different muscle groups. You have exercises for your triceps and biceps and your legs and then this and then that. They're different muscle groups. So same with spiritual intelligence. There are all these qualities I mentioned very quickly. And you have to focus on each of them for a period of time, a month or whatever, and build a habit of gratitude and appreciation. You develop a mindfulness meditation practice that helps you focus your mind so you're more present in meetings,
Yeah.
and things like that. So you're rewiring your brain. You have we all have our pathways that, through years of growing up, traumas, problems in our childhood, family of origin, uh, issues we've dealt with, and we have our issues, and we're not going to heal them overnight, but we
Yeah.
have to get on a path to do that work.
I love the understanding that to create new neural pathways in the brain, you have to create new habits, and new habits are going to form the pathways that you want to go. If you want to build up your SI, you mentioned negativity bias. I mean, my goodness, the world that we live in, when we allow politics to kind of permeate how we color our worldview through those lenses, right? And it's perhaps pulling away from that. And yeah, and spending more time with those things that serve you well, right? So that you have more gratitude, that you're more present around people and not and being less judgmental and more accepting of others. So I love the fact that you are calling us to step away from sort of the madness and the destruction that we have seen in in the last 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm dealing with the same stuff. I could tell you. I mean, I'm working on my spiritual intelligence. It hasn't been easy the last year with the political polarization and having family in Israel and the war of post October 7 that's going down there and Gaza and Lebanon and whatever. I mean, it's been very stressful and hard to unplug from the news and calling my family there, and they're stressed, and their anxiety kind of and trauma, just I hear it on the phone and affects my nervous system.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but what I've tried to do is stick to my meditation practice, stick to my exercise routine every day. I try and take in a bit of nature. I'm fortunate to live by nature, whether I go in the forest for some forest bathing and hiking or a walk on the beach at dawn, and exercise and so on. So we have to do all these things to discharge the anxiety, the stress from the nervous system, from the body, so that when I am here with you now, I can be more present and I'm not thinking about those things. And because today I've done some exercise, I've done some meditation, I had to get up early, and
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it.
What I get from this so far is that to really build up your spiritual intelligence, you have to create uh, more self-care practices, and also create more interconnectedness. I mean, really connecting with yourself first. And I think a lot of the self-care practices, mindfulness and meditation, will actually help in that regard, right? Are there any other techniques that will help us to connect with ourselves, to, kind of remove all of the distractions and feedback and noise in the world?
Well, you're mentioning some of them. I mean, for each of us, it's a little different. I mean, some people it's mindfulness meditation. Other people it's prayer. Other people it's walking in nature, in the forest, and feeling part of a larger web of life.
Yeah.
Other people it's jogging. Other people it's taking a bath. So we all have our a way that we can just kind of quiet our mind down and take care of ourselves. And so key piece of it is intentionality and being intentional. And so when our intention is the rudder that keeps our boat, aimed at where we're going, and we're navigating the sea and the big waves and the wind changes, but you need your rudder, and you get off the direction, you get thrown off by a wave, and your boat all of a sudden is going this way, and the wind changes direction and you're going this way. But then you say, no, 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 this is where I'm aiming. And then you get back on track. And it's a time and time again coming back to your intention. And it's not a resolution. We just went through the New Year. People have their New Year resolution. I say, oh, I'm never going to eat pizza or ice cream after 10 o'clock at night. But then you open the freezer, you take your first bite of ice cream, and I was like, well, I broke my resolution. I might as well finish the pint. But you but if you say this is my intention, then you get off course, but then you get back on the horse. You fall off the wagon, you get back on. And with that, and you practice self-forgiveness and self-compassion. I'm not perfect. I
Right.
just,
There's grace in that.
yeah, there's grace in that. And then that cultivates self-care and self-love and kindness towards ourselves.
Yeah.
But it starts with that intentionality and kind of getting off track and back on track. So again, it's not an idealistic world that I'm talking about. This is the reality that we all live in.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I want to pull one of the seven and drill a little deeper. Okay. And it's the first one. It's finding our sense of meaning
Uh-huh.
for ourselves, but also if you're a leader, it's finding that for those we lead. So
Well,
and then that obviously, I mean, I think if I have this right, the sequence is you have to find meaning in order to bring more purpose into our work and our lives. Is that correct? And if so, how do we create that meaning?
well, to me, they're kind of part and parcel the same. The purpose gives us meaning,
Okay.
and the meaning, goes along with purpose and service. So, and it, as you point out, it's both happens at the individual and at the organizational level. And ideally, you find an alignment. So what gives people meaning and purpose? I'll cite a little research. Is like actually when we share our gifts and contribute to others, that seems to be the most deepest fulfillment. That we have gifts where each have our gifts, talents, and superpowers. Some people are great athletes, some people are great musicians, some people have a great sense of humor, some people are great mathematicians or programmers, whatever it is. God or life endowed each of us with our unique gifts, talents, and superpowers, but then we want to actualize them and we want to use them to contribute to others. And when we do that, there's the deepest fulfillment. So there have been studies. For example, you take a group of people and you go through a lottery and half the people win $20. Okay. And so the people who win $20, they have a boost in mood. They feel happy versus the people who didn't. There's just randomly, right? Then you take the people that won the $20 and randomly you divide them into two. Some people you say, hey, take that $20 and go do something nice for yourself. Buy yourself a gift, a nice lunch, whatever it is. And then the other people, they say, take that $20 and spend it on someone else. Help use it to contribute to someone else. And then they look at the end of the day when at the mood. Okay, so everybody who won the $20 had a boost, right? But the people who spend it on themselves, there was no lasting effect at the end of the day. They didn't feel better about their day or themselves. They had that moment, it came and went. But the people who used that $20 to connect and contribute to others felt better at the end of the day, and there was a lasting effect. Point being is when we use our gifts and we share them, we have a lasting sense of meaning, purpose, and contribution. So as leaders, we want to ask ourselves, what is my gifts in life? And then how can I use it to contribute to the world? And then at the individual level and at the organizational level. So as an organization, you do strengths analysis and so on. What is our competitive differentiation as a company? And how are we different than other companies in this marketplace? And then how can we use that to contribute to customers and be of service? After all, why do businesses exist? To serve customers, to serve human needs. And each company tries to find its differentiated position based on its DNA and its strengths, just like us as individual. One person I said is a musician, one other person is a programmer, mathematician. Well, one company competes on cost, one company competes on quality, one company competes on electric vehicles for people that are environmentally conscious, and others, build Ferraris if you want to be a performance, so our niches in each organization serves, needs based on its strengths. So you have your purpose, your service, and that gives you meaning. And then you want to find your personal purpose, and align it with the organization. And then people are aligned, and you have a community of people with a shared vision, mission, and purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Well, gosh, yeah, so much of it is it reminds me of servant leadership as you
That dimension is very
Mhm.
is very similar.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
Well,
say one thing about
yeah,
how it's different.
right.
I'm sorry. Robert Greenleaf, who developed servant leadership, the focused on serving the people under you and flipping the org chart on its head, which is a beautiful idea. When I'm talking about service, that's only part of it. So I'm not just in service to my employees, I'm in service to the purpose, which includes multiple stakeholders, which is my customers and my shareholders and my employees. So, and my mission. So I'm servant to this idea, this vision of the world. And it's not just to make the people under me feel good, although that is part of that, part of their growth, commitment to their growth, their coaching, their self-actualization. But that's also, there's a bigger notion of what service is. I'm in service to this purpose, vision, mission that we have.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so as we wind down here, is anybody capable of awakening and bringing out their spiritual intelligence?
Yeah, anybody can be. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be spiritual. Like we said in the beginning, you don't have to believe in spiritual belief system, whether there's God or reincarnation of the soul or whatever. It's not a momentary experience. Like you said, you love U2 and you get into this ecstatic spiritual state, or some people go in the forest and they feel oneness with nature, or you meditate and you dissolve your ego, and those are spiritual moments and states or whatever. But you can be an atheist, you could be a non-spiritual person and have a purpose, have a sense of service, embody gratitude, have presence, have intuition, be humble, be compassionate. And in that regard, you cultivate these spiritual intelligence qualities, and they pay off. Research shows in positive psychology and leadership development, like I mentioned, and my own research. And now there's an ever-growing body of research across different cultures, languages, that has shown that spiritual intelligence contributes to, satisfaction, quality of life, resilience, mental health, individual productivity. It was even shown that banks, where the average level of spiritual intelligence among employees is higher than other banks, produce better ROI, return on their assets financially. So again, this pays off, but you don't have to be spiritual. You can be anybody if you want to cultivate gratitude, joy, beauty, compassion, presence, mindfulness. That's natural.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sitting in the C-suite right now listening. I'm going, I'm all in, Yosi. What's the strategy? What's the starting point? How do I shape an environment to encourage these practices?
Well, this is going to sound self-promotional, but you can read my book. That would be a good place to start. You can give it to some of your team members and executive, but it's not about reading the book. The book, each quality starts with case studies that highlights how these things are tangible and practical and address real world problems. And then for each quality, there are exercises, and you focus, you build a habit for a month. I think it takes about a month, they say 21 days so you say, okay, for the next month, I'm going to work on gratitude and appreciation. So I go through my day, I look for things that I'm appreciating during the day, and I make a habit to let people know as soon as possible that I appreciate something about them in the meeting, or if I forgot at the end of the day, I email them. And so, for a month, I built a habit of gratitude and appreciation. It's like I learned to brush my teeth. And once I brush my teeth every day. I go through my days looking for moments to appreciate people. And then I say, okay, next month, I'm going to work on purpose. And I ask myself, what are my gifts? What are my talents? How do I want to actualize them? How do I want to use them to contribute? and I kind of find my purpose, and I remind myself that this is my purpose. And then next month I'm going to work on compassion, and there are practices for cultivating compassion. Or and the next month I'm going to build a habit of meditation. I'm going to work it into my schedule that every day, whether it's 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 12 minutes, 22 minutes, I'm going to meditate. And that helps me calm my mind, calm my nervous system, brings me into presence. And then when I'm in meeting, and there are exercises in the book that you could learn to become present in. I have this protocol that in 30 seconds to a minute, you can become present and clear the cache of your mind, so to speak. If you want, we could try it right now. But, so anyway, but you build habits, you build practices, and it takes time, and it's a lifelong journey, but you start to see the payoff, and you learn and you grow, and that's very fulfilling.
Okay, you left us hanging on a limb here, so let's do it. Walk
Let's
through it.
do it. Okay, well, I hope you're not driving as you're listening to this, because
Yes.
that might be, but right now here with me, can you feel and wiggle the big toe in your left foot?
Yes.
And then feel and wiggle the pinky in your right hand.
Yep.
And then feel and wiggle the pinky in your left hand.
It's there. Yeah.
And feel and wiggle the big toe in your right foot.
Yep.
And now wiggle all your toes.
Yep.
And wiggle your fingers and fingers and toes. And now feel the verticality and sense your spine. And your breath. Sense your breath, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And sense your heartbeat. And just see what's here now as you're connected with yourself, connected with me, hearing these words.
My feet are more planted to the carpet because I'm barefoot on my shaggy carpet, and I feel the carpet more now.
Okay. And how is this affecting you, that you feel your feet on the ground and the carpet?
Oh, it brings more presence to other parts of my body.
And how about your mind? Did it clear your mind?
Yeah, it cleared a little bit. I might need a little more time.
Yeah.
To feel the effects because of the distraction of trying to keep the conversation going, right?
And then we're close to the end of the show, and you're already like,
right.
Okay, I need to bring this home, and so on. Yeah.
But the fact that I have the awareness of feeling parts of my body now, and because there are days when I don't even do that, so I don't have I'm not fully present with myself. So this is really a good starting point for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that took a minute. I don't know how long it took us, but and we're close to the end, and this is whatever. But I have clients who do this in meetings. They notice they're starting to tune out, and their mind is going elsewhere, and someone else is rambling on and on in the meeting, and and they feel the impulse to look to reach to the phone and check their email, and they're like, oh, they do this, and they notice that they become more present, and then they ask themselves, what is needed right now? Maybe I need to interrupt this person that's going on and on, or maybe I have a skillful intervention to redirect the discussion. But, I need to become present, remind myself, what is the intention for the meeting? How do I want to show up? And I could be that much more skillful in the moment.
Yeah, gosh, you bring up such an interesting point with the world that kids are growing up in. What kind of leaders are we actually building when their attention span is so short, with faces buried in devices? I have an 11-year-old, so I speak from experience. It is hard for him to break away from that, and for me to sit down with them and just have a conversation, and then his mind starts to trail off. And so I'm hopeful that these practices will become more the norm in society, where we can be more present with each other. I mean, how many times have I walked into a restaurant, sat down with my wife, and we're having conversation. We can do it. We know we're capable of actually being, engaging with each other, but looking at the table next to me, and there's a couple, and both of them have their devices and they have their heads down, and not a word is exchanged during their meal. And I'm not trying to be critical or judgmental. I'm stating sadness in seeing this in this generation. And these are people that are not that much younger than me. So what is your hope for the future of spiritual intelligence as we, get to understand our limitations, and what's your hope moving forward for this research and for your work?
Yeah, well, I think this is the critical piece. I mean, humanity with our cognitive intelligence, IQ, we've split the atom, we deciphered the genome, we developed AI that now rivals our own. And we have emotional intelligence that taught us to monitor our emotions and regulate them. We get angry. Hopefully, we don't start yelling and punching and throwing shoes and plates at each other. But yet, we have all these problems. There's loneliness, epidemic, depression, anxiety, suicide rates are skyrocketing, and we feel disconnected, alienated from each other. And you're talking about love and action. So, people are going on their weeknight date night, right? These couples that you're seeing in the restaurant, this is supposed to be their quality time date night, and they're on their phone and not paying attention to each other. So our presence is part of love and action, and being connected to myself and to you is what connects us. If I'm not connected to myself and I'm all out there, then I'm not really connected. We're not connected. There's just a piece of rope that's hanging over there, but it's not tied over here. So I have to be connected to myself and be open to you right now. So I feel my feet, I feel my presence, I feel my chest, my heart open, but I'm also seeing you. I'm reading your body language. So that's a real connection. Otherwise, and when we don't have connection, we're social animals, and people that feel lonely, isolated, don't, that affects our mood, our well-being, our physical health. And the reason is, when you think about it, the worst prison punishment is solitary confinement.
Oof.
Now, right? People go crazy, but we have put ourselves in solitary confinement because we believe I'm separate from you. I'm a skin encapsulated ego. There's me, and then there's you, there's me, and then there's this plant on my desk, and there's the trees outside. They're all objects, etc. But the reality, every inhale I take, I'm breathing in oxygen, which is the output exhale of the plant. And then every time I exhale carbon dioxide, CO2, it's the inhale of the plant. So I'm embedded in this web of life. And unless I understand that interconnectedness with even the plants, the environment, other people in my team, and I'm looking at it as a dog-eat-dog world as opposed to interdependence, interconnectedness, or in romantic relationships. It's like my needs, your needs. Well, but you can't be happy in a relationship unless both partners are fulfilled and connected and present with each other.
Yeah.
So that's why, now is now beginning research that shows that couples that have greater spiritual intelligence have better satisfaction, relationship quality.
Yeah.
So it is important in the business world, but it's important in our personal lives.
Yeah.
And your presence with your 11-year-old, he feels it. And if you're not present with him, then he's gonna be not present
Right.
with you. And
Yeah. Well, gosh, Yossi, we barely scratched the surface on this. So folks, Get the book, Spiritually Intelligent Leadership, because it is chock full of case studies, practices, tips, and habits that you need to employ. And it was like the answer to the question. You said it best. Like, how do we create more of this in our workplaces, in our communities? It's all in the book. All right, so we bring it home with two questions, as we do with every guest. The first one is the love question. So here we go. Sticking with maybe something we've already talked about, or maybe you want to bring something out. How do we lead with more actionable, practical love, knowing that people that listen to the show know that it's not a squishy emotion or a feeling? This is backed by action. So how do we do it?
Well, we mentioned two of them already. One is gratitude and appreciation. So finding opportunities to celebrate and appreciate people around us, whether it's at home, on our team, that's love in action because we're reinforcing them, we're giving them a gift, we're mirroring their success, their goodness. And when our goodness is mirrored, it grows. It's like putting water and sunlight on a plant that sprouts and it grows. And then we talked about presence, the gift of our presence. Our time and attention is the most scarce, unrenewable resource. I can give you $1, $100, I can go get another $100. But if I give you my attention and my presence for a moment, that moment is gone. I can't get it back. I'm going to get another moment. So the greatest gift, the greatest resource we can give someone is our full attention and presence. And that's love in action. That's generosity. And then if I bring in joy and beauty and imbue and help people uncover the beauty in their work or bring in the energy of joy, it makes people more creative and they just enjoy it and they love it. So these qualities of spiritual intelligence really create that sense of shared connection and mutuality of care, which is what community and belonging. And to me, that's love in action when you can do that and people feel that belonging and that inspiration and that connection.
Bring us home. You close us out. What's that one thing you'd like us to walk away with?
Boy, well, I think we're up until Copernicus and Galileo, we believed that, the Earth is in the center of the universe and the sun and the planets revolve around it because that's how it looks when you look at the sky and just moves, the sun moves. But then we discovered, no, it's the other way around, the Earth's going around the sun. And so we need to move from an ego-centered worldview to an eco-centered worldview. And that's our kind of awakening moment to understand our interconnectedness and, in opening our hearts and in opening our mind to understand our interdependence and that we feel best and most actualized when we're sharing our gifts and using them to contribute to others. So we are a cell in this organ, our company, our community, our family, like a cell in the human body. It's part of the thyroid, the kidney, the liver, and it has a role, it has a function, it has to take care of itself. There's a cell membrane. So I'm not denying our individuality. We are individuals, but we are part of something bigger than us. And we feel most fulfilled and do best when we bring our gifts. And so the cell in the liver does its job to contribute to the liver, that contributes to the overall organism. If it just took care of itself and the organism got sick, then eventually it's going to get sick and die too. So it's this understanding is kind of our Galileo Copernican revolution, moving from an ego-centered worldview to an eco-centered worldview, whether it's being our company, our organization, our family, and our interdependence and mutuality of care, and that's love.
Yeah. The book again is called Spiritually Intelligent Leadership: How to Inspire by Being Inspired. And there it is if you're watching on YouTube. And folks, there's so many elements in this book that are aligned with the love and action message that we've been sharing with the world for the last 6-7 years. So check it out. Well, if people want to connect with you find out more about you, get your resources, where can they go?
Well, I have a website, like you would expect, yosiamram.net, just my name, one word, .net, and it connects to some of my other resources, my YouTube channel, Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. There's a free assessment website where you can get a profile of your strengths and opportunities to grow along these dimensions of spiritual intelligence and spiritually intelligent leadership. So there are many resources. You mentioned the book, but go to my website, yosiamram.net, and yeah, happy to connect and support people. This is my calling. This is my purpose, awakening spiritual intelligence in myself and the world. There's also a website called awakeningspiritualintelligence.org, one word. It's a nonprofit that I started, which is trying to promote this idea in the world.
Well, you have your calling, I have my calling, but really, I mean, our callings overlap so much. We are kindred spirits.
Yeah, and that's delightful. That's delightful to when we feel that kindred spirit. And we're talking about spirits, right? That life force energy that, which is what motivates and enlivens us. And these qualities of spiritual intelligence naturally emerge when we are rooted in our life force energy, our spirit essence. And when you connect to that sacred spark of life that we each contain, we naturally have a sense of purpose. We naturally enliven. We're naturally connected to ourselves and others. So, yeah.
Yep. And there is your evolution right there towards spiritual intelligence. Yosi, you're a gift, and it's been wonderful chatting with you. Keep up the great work. Keep that research going, and let's continue to build this movement towards becoming more spiritually intelligent. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored and delighted and appreciative.
Well, gang, you can keep the conversation going. So go to social media, hit LinkedIn and Instagram, or wherever you reside, and use hashtag Love in Action Podcast, and look for my show notes on my website, marcelschwantes.com. You're going to find links to Yosi's website there. You're going to find a link to this YouTube video for you to watch us if you prefer. And all of that is on marcelschwantes.com. For Yosi, I'm Marcel. Remember, in the end, love wins. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Love in Action podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it, subscribe, and leave us a review. Until next time, don't forget, the future of leadership is love in action. Believe it, practice it, and watch your leadership and business flourish.